Hey everybody, I am AR Mar, and what I'm watching today is Book 3, Chapter 19 of Avatar The Last Airbender, Sozins Comet Part 2, The Old Masters. Whew. Man, only 2 more episodes after this one, and it's lining up to be a doozy. We start off the episode with the group talking to June, basically right where we left off previously. And I love her flippant attitude, as always. She knows exactly how to push people's buttons. Her scent-following beast can't locate Aang's scent, and according to her, that means he doesn't exist. I'm more on the lines that means he's out on the ocean and the beast can't track scents across water. They imply it can, but scientifically that makes more sense. I know this world doesn't completely work on scientific logic, and I don't know the natural laws of this world, so maybe he is somewhere spiritually that the beast cannot track. So, kind of interesting, and more just a way for them to be like, nope. Zuko and company, you stay over here. Aang is doing his own thing right now. Stay. Go. You have something to do over here. And then we get a brief aside with Aang where he figures out that he's not in the spirit world since his branding still works and Momo is with him. We go back to Zuko and company, and Zuko asks June to hunt someone else, Iroh. He even has one of Iroh's old stinky slippers with him, much to the group's surprise. And he's quite convinced that Iroh is the only person other than the Avatar, that can help them face the Fire Lord. The tracking leads them right to the walls of Ba Sing Se, and June refuses to go beyond the walls. She turns back, wishing them luck, and vanishes. Aang finds an odd platform in the middle of the island's forest, and lost for answers, he meditates. He calls up Roku, this time of his own will, not having to go to a special place or at a special time. He just closes his eyes and calls Roku to him. And he starts asking his former self for advice. Roku doesn't know what the island is, but he can see Aang's inner turmoil, so Aang asks himself what he can do to face the Fire Lord. We go back to the main group as they're ambushed by none other than Boomy! Oh, another one of my favorite characters. Boomy is back for this episode. And then we go right back to the Avatar and Momo on Mystery Island, as Aang continues to talk to himself, as only he can, explaining to Roku how everyone expects him to kill. Roku laments his lack of decisiveness and his own mercy that led to this war in the first place, leaving Aang with the advice that he has to be decisive and do what must be done to end the war. Then back to the main group, where we get introduced once again to the titular Old Masters. Katara's waterbending teacher Pakku, who has apparently made amends with and become re-engaged through Katara's grandmother, so they have a new grandpa now. That's kind of cool. Aang's first firebending teacher, John, Sokka's swordfighting teacher, Master Pian Dao, which, if you remember, he gave them a White Lotus tile, and his gates had the White Lotus symbol on them. So that was a nice bit of foreshadowing. I figured after showing us that, and especially with everything that Iroh did previously, that they were going to bring him back in some capacity. So I'm glad to see that paid off now when it's, for biggest effect. And Boomy's there too. They're all members of the Order of the White Lotus, a group we've mostly heard mentioned by Iroh, but have frequently seen their influence in the past. Like I said, with Pian Dao, and with when Iroh and Zuko were being helped in the desert there, the White Lotus has been quite influential. I think there was a couple other instances, but I honestly can't remember them off the top of my head. The reason these 4 assembled here is because they received a summons from Iroh to come and complete a great task. Boomy is momentarily worried someone important is missing from the group. Oh god, Momo's missing! But then he hears that Aang is with Momo, and he's like, no, I'm sure they'll be okay as long as they have each other. Oh, I missed you, Boomy. We return to Aang as he now summons Avatar Kyoshi, seeking her wisdom. She does nothing to calm the storm in his heart, declaring that she, like Roku, would kill anyone who threatens the balance. We know from a previous episode that she did kill a man. I mean, Aang says, well, you didn't really kill him. He died because of his own stubbornness, because he didn't get out of the way. And Kyoshi just sort of shrugs and goes, I don't see the difference. I do kind of like that. I mean, the very fact that she didn't save him in that situation means that she caused his death, really. And that's something that a lot of things, including movies, kind of forget. They go on that whole idea that, like Batman Begins said, I don't have to rescue you, but I don't have to save you either. No. Just no. If you have the ability to save someone and they die by your inaction, then you might as well have killed them yourself. I'm glad that Kiyoshi is wise enough to show this. It's a central tenet of the Batman comics a lot of people forget, and it seems to be a central tenet of what Kiyoshi is trying to say here. And again, I love that this show goes so deep, that they treat their audience with such respect. They're not just going like, oh, you're little kids, you won't understand. They're just like, no, this is how it is. This is the philosophy we're trying to show you. And yeah, Aang isn't happy with this answer. He doesn't, he still doesn't want to kill. Even though the first two lives of his own that he's talked to have said, sometimes you do have to kill to maintain the balance. Sometimes you have to be decisive about what you're doing. Back with the main group, Bumi tells us a story of how he escaped the Fire Nation's custody. Or rather, according to him, everyone else escaped. Turns out he took advantage of the eclipse to drive the Fire Nation out, wantonly destroying the city while they were powerless to stop him. I mean, the way he left it, it looks like it could be rebuilt, but really the Fire Nation had done so much to his city already that massive demolitions probably would have had to be done anyway. So, he drove them out single-handedly because he's crazy and they had no firepower. Aang's still desperately seeking advice that he can, be comfortable with. Advice that doesn't tell him to go against his very nature. Looks deeper within to avatars we haven't seen before. We meet a water tribe avatar, Kurin, I think was his name, who describes himself as a very go-with-the-flow type of guy. He lost love as his life to that spirit we met before, the Face Stealer. And he realizes that if he had taken a more active role, he could have protected her. His advice to Aang is to act and shape his own destiny. Aang takes this to mean kill the Fire Lord, but really I think it means more spend less time worrying about it and thinking about it, and more time finding an answer. How can you do this? Act on it. Shape your own destiny. Do not let it come to you. Don't let destiny force you to kill this man if you think it is wrong. Find your own way. We return to the main group as they arrive at the Lotus camp, and Zuko hesitates in front of Iroh's tent, convinced that Iroh hates him now. Zuko hates him for his previous betrayal. But Katara assures him that his feelings of regret and that he is sorry will help Iroh forgive him. As he enters the tent, we see Iroh sleeping, and Zuko simply just sits down to wait for his uncle to wake. Aang, in his frustration with the last three avatars, goes back to a fourth, his previous Air Nomad self, hoping at least that one will understand where he is coming from, the very source of his dilemma. We meet our second female avatar, Yang Chen. And I do like that just like how the avatar's element cycle, so do more or less his genders. Admittedly, it seems to be not completely consistent, but at least with his last four, it is balanced. So it does feel a little weird that we went from Avatar Roku to Aang, another male, when the previous pattern has been male-female, but I digress. And it is this that seems to be the most crushing for Aang, her advice. She tells him that she doesn't have the answer he desires. Instead of encouraging him to keep his spiritual beliefs about the sacred nature of life, she tells him that as the Avatar, his duty is to the world, and sometimes that means sacrificing that which you hold most dear for the world. It is now that we get one of the things we've been waiting for, the reunion between Zuko and Iroh. It's a simple but heart-wrenching scene, starting with Zuko's tear-filled apology, which gets cut off by a hug from Iroh. It's the embrace of a father telling his son it'll be okay, and both of them just start bawling at this moment. Iroh tells Zuko he never hated him. He was only sad and afraid that Zuko had lost his way. And now he is glad that Zuko has found it again. It's at this point I do feel the need to mention that, from what I've heard, apparently back when this was being made, the original voice actor for Iroh passed away. And you can tell in this scene that they needed to do this for the story, but there's no way to replace the original voice. Iroh sounds different now. And it's almost hard to see him as the same character, even though he's saying the same things, even though they are Iroh's words. It doesn't feel quite the same, but nonetheless, this was a really powerful scene that almost made me cry too. We return to Aang on the island that time forgot. He notices some mountains coming closer and realizes the island itself is moving. Which, I posited that was possible last episode, but it's great to get this confirmation. He immediately dives into the water and discovers, again to his amazement, that the island is the back of a giant animal. The main crew try to convince Iroh to fight the Fire Lord, but he offers this sage advice. History will only see it as more senseless violence, a brother killing a brother for power. The only way for this war to end peacefully is for the Avatar to defeat the Fire Lord. He then says that Zuko has to be there in the Fire Nation to take the throne after his father falls. An idealist with unquestionable honor who will be able to redeem the honor of the Fire Nation. Yes, Zuko has made his mistakes in the past, but he found his way back to the proper path. And through that, perhaps he will be able to help the Fire Nation as well find their way back to a good path. Iroh speaks of his destiny to retake Ba Sing Se from the Fire Nation, saying that as a child he believed it was to take Ba Sing Se for the Fire Nation, but now he knows that it is to liberate Ba Sing Se, to return it to the Earth Nation, and restore balance. And this is the point where he tells Zuko, go face your sister and be ready to take the throne when your father falls. And Zuko knows he can't do it alone, so he asks Katara to join him. She's more than happy to go, teach Azula a lesson. Sokka, Toph, and Suki go on their own quest to stop as many as the airships as they can before the Comet comes and the airships rain fire down. We return once more to Aang. He finally finds the creature's heads and discovers that it is a great and ancient lion turtle. As usual, I love the creature designs in this show. This thing has a very Chinese-looking lion face and blends perfectly with its turtle shell. It is a beautiful creature and imposing in its size when you see just how big its head alone is in comparison to Aang. The lion turtle tells Aang to remain strong, that a true heart and mind can weather any doubt or storm. His last words as he leaves Aang on shore are to wait. He will come. I'm guessing he's referring to the Fire Lord, or Phoenix Lord, whatever he's calling himself now. Cuckoo Cocoa Fire Puffs. And we end the episode with a line from Cuckoo Cocoa Fire Puffs Ozai, declaring the world is about to be destroyed in flame and born anew from the ashes. Well, he's really embracing his villain role, give him that. As he says these words, the sky ominously turns red as the comet arrives, streaking across the sky. The stakes are up, and the final battle is on. Next we're gonna jump into the last two episodes. We'll see the Fire Lord fall, and hopefully balance restored. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.